Good morning. Welcome to the forecast discussion for Friday, March 21st, 2025. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino, and this is your premium public video discussion that we have every Friday. Just a reminder before we get started, please like, share, and subscribe. It actually helps the channel out quite a bit, gets the word out, besides you sharing with your friends and family. Also, if you're interested in this type of content every day, along with a little bit more detailed. In fact, today we went over some of the impacts of solar uh, weather that is starting to evolve right now, and keeping an eye on the sunspot development as our sun moves from a quiet phase to a more active phase over the next couple of years. Or you want to get more details on the rainfall that is expected this weekend and also on Monday, besides what we see here. Definitely check out the premium consulting membership, only $15 a month, well worth it. Plus, you can ask me questions if you have parties or whatnot going on in your life that you need to make sure the weather is not going to mess around with. So now we got that out of the way, let's take a look at some of this data. Right now, we are moving into a very active weather pattern. Let's go back to this morning. This is at 12 hours into the forecast. It's at 12Z. That means 8 a.m. since we moved the clocks up. And you can see right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 waves in the model guidance. And we'll take a look at the observations to see if that continues based on what we're seeing with the models. But the overall theme here is a very progressive, active weather pattern. Waves of troughs and ridges marching their way through, which means we're not really looking at a locked in weather pattern, but very transient. A lot of moving parts, a lot of activity, which is good because we need the rainfall. So I don't see any massive major storms, but I do see for the northern mid Atlantic a bit of a tug of war between the maritime air masses and the tropical and Pacific air masses. And the combination of these air masses is going to create a lot of what we call frontogenesis. What that basically means is temperature gradients, right? And those temperature gradients leads to lifting. The lifting leads to clouds and sometimes precipitation. In this scenario, notice we're not seeing the robust negative NAO signal. I kind of thought that it was a little bit overdone, but I did like the overall theme of a negative NAO type of feature. And we see that with more of a east-based scenario here taking shape, where a ridge tries to build into Greenland from time to time, and you got a lot of below normal heights over the northwestern Atlantic. And what that essentially sets up is not major storms, but backdoor cold fronts. Backdoor cold fronts are the bane of every warm weather lover in the Northeast and the northern mid-Atlantic, because basically what happens is that you get warm air surging at the mid levels, and we'll see that in the upcoming data. I'll show you the 850 millibar temperatures. So you get warm air surging northward, but underneath that warm surge, underneath that warm air transport, you get this dense maritime air mass that originates out of, well, the Canadian Maritimes and the Gulf of Maine, and it marches down through southern New England and pushes into the northern mid-Atlantic. And then sometimes it stalls right around central New Jersey, back through northeastern Pennsylvania, and it leads to a gradient ranging from the 70s in Philadelphia and the upper 40s on Long Island. And so everyone on Long Island is wearing sweatshirts and bundled up because it's chilly and cloudy. Meanwhile, Philadelphia, everyone's walking around in shorts and t-shirts, and it's very sunny and very nice out. And occasionally, if you get enough moisture transport in this scenario, you can end up with drizzle and some showers on the north side of the boundary, and occasionally even an isolated thunderstorm or two on the south side of the boundary. In this case, I think you're going to see more cloudy days than rainy days, but when we get features like this feature here interact with this type of setup, that's when we can get light to moderate widespread rainfall, and even somewhat of the heavy rainfall event that we had last night, where we got in some locations around a quarter of an inch, other locations an inch and a quarter. Like around Freehold, we got roughly 1.15 inches of rainfall. And now we got the strong winds, which I'll explain why we're seeing that in just a moment. So what that looks like in terms of the 850 millibar temperatures is a lot of transient, moving, evolving air masses. So this leads to one day we'll be in the 40s, the next day we'll be in the 60s, and then back in the 40s and 50s and back in the 60s. It is a nightmare for anyone that is trying to figure out what to wear from day to day because you don't know whether you need a coat or you just need t-shirt. So it's going to be all over the place. So how about all the above? Okay, and then you can kind of layer off depending on the evolution from day to day. But in this setup here, when you see this type of signal here, like, hey, it's going to be warm everywhere, use caution because that type of maritime air mass loves to cut into this type of warm air transport and you end up with very cloudy conditions. And then same thing setting up for later on the forecast period. This looks like a very warm period of weather for early April, but you see this signal right here? This will likely undercut a lot of these warm temperature anomalies that are showing up. So southern mid-Atlantic starts to almost like summer-like conditions, but down towards up towards the northern mid-Atlantic and New England, unfortunately, you end up with a lot of cool, cloudy days in this type of setup. And I think we're going to see that a lot as we move through April. So that's the overall theme that we're going to be dealing with over the next 15 days, with plenty of light to moderate rainfall chances, an occasional heavy downpour here and there, which is really good news because it's exactly what we need to break this drought. As much as everyone thinks like, hey, look, we need like several heavy rainfall, 3-inch rainfall events. No, you want light to moderate rainfall events because then that allows you to build up your water table. It gets into the water table, replenishes everything. Then your crops can grow, your grass can grow, your trees, whatever. That is better than to produce a widespread heavy rainfall for 1 or 2 events. Technically becomes a positive anomaly in terms of rainfall, but it doesn't get into the root system, doesn't get into, to support the agriculture because you literally wipe off or wash off the topsoil, which is really bad. So you don't want to do that. So what's evolving right now is literally perfect, exactly what we want. It's not a quick fix, it's a gradual fix. So when we take a look at our current conditions right now, the cold front's off the coast, the rain is off into New England, skies are clearing, but boy, is it windy out. Winds are from the northwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour with higher gusts up to 24, 30. I would not be surprised if we see a 50 mile per hour wind gust. So temperatures as a result range from the upper 20s to lower 30s in the highest elevations, mid to upper 30s in the suburbs, lower 40s along the coast, but it feels more like the 20s and 30s. So you're going to really want to bundle up in these conditions. Why are we seeing these strong winds? Well, you're seeing perfect mixing taking place with this 850 millibar jet here. So this is about 45 to 30 knots here, okay? And what that mixes down to in terms of miles per hour is somewhere between the 30 to 50 mile per hour wind gust potential. So it is definitely going to be a very, very breezy day out there as the cold air builds in. But the good news is that this will start to taper off by this evening. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a windy day as long as we have this jet streak. But once it exits off the coast, we start to subside as this ridge axis starts to build in for this evening. So a very windy afternoon, unfortunately, and with temperatures in the 40s and 50s, it's going to feel pretty chilly out. So you're definitely going to want to have a coat. On the visible satellite picture, just want to show you the clearing skies, but you see this right here. You see how it's kind of broken up here. This is a view of gravity waves coming off of the Appalachian Mountains. It's really cool to watch, and you can also see that here over central Pennsylvania. So this tells you that you have a lot of mixing going on in the atmosphere. You got a nice jet streak involved here, nice northwesterly flow. Don't be surprised to get a couple of fair weather cumulus popping up here as we continue on with that mixing of any of the remaining moisture in the atmosphere. On the radar and surface map from WeatherTap, you can see our low pressure system is exiting. All the heavy rainfalls up here towards New England. We are high and dry. So at least today's going to be quiet. This is our next cold front that's going to be moving through for tomorrow afternoon, opening up the potential for a few isolated showers. Now, the infrared satellite picture features a lot of scattered cloud cover over the region, not a lot of strong lifting. Okay, you're not seeing any robust a dynamic storm developing out here to the west of us. So this tells me by the time it moves through our area, it's generally going to feature just a few scattered clouds and isolated showers moving through. But zoomed out a little bit more and changed the satellite feature to the water vapor satellite picture, you kind of get a better detail of what's evolving here. So there's one trough that is exiting the region. That's 1, 2, 3. Well, let's take a look at the upper level winds. So clearly we're seeing a lot of short waves here. Let's take a look at the 250 millibar winds. 1, 2, 3. How about further west? 4. And there's more even further west over the Pacific. What am I trying to show you? A parade of short waves that are going to be marching through the region. And depending on the interaction with the subtropical jet stream, which is down here, that's going to tell you how much moisture transport we have involved. So the first short wave for tomorrow afternoon, not much in the way of moisture transport. So as a result, not much in the way of rainfall. The second one, this one, will actually have more interaction with the subtropical jet stream, more moisture transport, which means more widespread rainfall. And that's generally the theme here. How did these features interact with the subtropical jet stream to transport moisture and to instigate a clash between the maritime air mass, the Pacific air mass, and the tropical air mass? So those three air masses coming in, clashing, and occasionally you can add in the polar air mass, but that's going to be more rare than not because we're moving into spring. And those polar air masses, based on the way that the polar vortex collapsed over Eurasia, is going to be focused more towards northern Canada and Siberia, which frankly it could stay there because we're beyond that season. So taking a look at the 500 millibar PVA, there's our first short wave that comes through. Again, notice very quick moving, not very organized. Notice the subtropical short wave here in the subtropical jet is a little bit faster than the polar short wave, so everything's kind of disjointed. The lifting isn't as impressive. The next short wave coming through on Monday, notice a lot more interaction. They're more in phase here. So you get more strong lifting, more support of moisture transport. It's all about timing. Much like when you watch two ice skaters. If they're off in terms of their timing, then the whole move with the lifting, all that stuff just collapses and it looks horrible. And then you get a 1 from the German judge. But when everything's aligned, it becomes beautiful. Or in this case, rainy. So this evolves here, lifts on through, and there's how you get your rainfall. So again, it's all about interaction. And so look at the difference in terms of the mid-level lifting. On Saturday, is disjointed, weak, mostly focused over the Atlantic. So therefore, the showers aren't as impressive. On Monday, far different, better interaction, focused more over the northern Atlantic as it moves through, so a better chance for more widespread rainfall, and then it also exits. By the way, these are not long duration rainfall events. They come through, they last about 6 hours, if that, and then they're gone. So you have a limited time, which is why we're limiting the rainfall here. In this case, for Monday, about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Again, not enough to produce any flooding or anything like that, but certainly enough to start to improve the conditions with our drought. Gradually. It's not going to be fast, but it's going to be gradual, which is exactly what we want. And this pattern continues through next week with shortwave after shortwave, and we'll watch a little bit more vigorous low pressure system on Wednesday, again, with a better chance for rainfall. In terms of the moisture transport, like I said, for tomorrow, not very impressive, right? Not as impressive as the one on Monday. Again, interaction matters. And that's why you see the difference in terms of strength of these low pressure systems. So over the next 90 hours, our rainfall event leaves. Actually pretty nice for today, this evening, aside from the winds. Tomorrow morning, generally dry. Saturday, there comes our, again for tomorrow afternoon, a few widely scattered showers, not a washout in any way, shape, or form. So if you have outdoor plans, don't worry about it. Sunday's going to be chilly and dry. And then here we go on Monday. Now, there is potential here for a few snowflakes in the Poconos and Catskills, but I don't expect much in the way of accumulation out of this. Why? Because by the time it really gets going in terms of the precipitation, our temperatures are about freezing, and everyone's going over to rain even in the higher elevations. And by Monday afternoon, you got widespread showers with, again, about 1/2 inch to 1 inch of rain possible in this event. So let's walk through our forecast, shall we? For today, Windy, chilly, but sunny, with high temperatures in the lower to mid 40s over the northern interior, upper 40s to lower 50s along the coast. For tonight into tomorrow morning, the winds die down, skies are generally clear. Low temperatures will range from the mid to upper 30s throughout the region, of course, colder as you move towards the interior. For tomorrow afternoon, that cold front moves through with a few widely scattered showers. Not looking for a lot of precipitation, a tenth of an inch at most. Look for high temperatures in the upper 40s to lower 50s over the northern interior, mid to upper 50s along the coast. On Sunday, sunny but chilly, with low temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 20s over the northern interior, mid to upper 20s along the coast. High temperatures will range from the upper 30s to lower 40s over the northern interior, mid 40s along the coast. So definitely a very chilly day on Sunday. On Sunday night into Monday morning, clouds increase, precipitation begins to develop towards the morning hours around 8 a.m. And again, there might be a few snowflakes mixed in the Poconos and Catskills. Not expecting any accumulation, but watch out for a few slick roads up there. Otherwise, looking for showers to develop with low temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 30s over the northern interior, upper 30s along the coast. By Monday afternoon, everyone's rain, with period of showers. The heavier rainfall looks to be along the coast where we have the best lifting. Look for high temperatures to range from the upper 40s to lower 50s over the northern interior and along the immediate coast, lower to mid 50s in the Delaware River Valley. On Tuesday, we get a weak trough moving through. Sky clouds, could be an isolated shower, but for the most part, a quiet day. Look for low temperatures in the lower to mid 30s, high and lower to mid 30s over the interior, mid to upper 30s along the coast. High temperatures ranging from the upper 40s to lower 50s over the northern interior, lower to mid 50s along the coast. On Wednesday, another area of low pressure moves through with periods of showers throughout the region. I think this is going to be a little bit more robust than what the model guidance is showing right here based on the development of the 500 millibar trough. So watch out for scattered showers here. Again, not a heavy rainfall event, but maybe a quarter of an inch here and there. Again, heavy a little bit helps. So Wednesday's lows will start off in the upper 20s to mid 30s over the northern interior, upper 30s to lower 40s along the coast. High temperatures will range from the mid to upper 40s over the northern interior and upper 40s to lower 50s along the coast, lower to mid 50s in the Delaware River Valley. On Thursday, we're going to have this backdoor cold front hanging around the region. You can just see the trough right here. Not much in precipitation, maybe some drizzle, but for the most part, we're dealing with cloudy skies over much of the region. More sunshine as you head towards Philadelphia. Look for low temperatures to range from the upper 20s to lower 30s over the northern interior, lower to mid 30s along the coast. High temperatures will range from the lower to mid 40s over the northern interior, mid to upper 40s along the coast. We could see a few lower to mid 50s down towards southwestern New Jersey and the southern side of Philadelphia, depending on the position of this frontal boundary. On Thursday, that same frontal boundary is going to be hanging around. It's going to be backing here, and you can see the trough here with the next cold front approaching from the west. This is a perfect example of your backdoor cold front influence. More northeasterly winds down from the Gulf of Maine into the northern mid-Atlantic. Southwesterly winds over Philadelphia. That's going to lead to cloudy skies, an isolated shower here and there. Low temperatures in the upper 20s to lower 30s over the northern interior, lower to mid 30s along the coast. High temperatures will range from the upper 40s to lower 50s around the New York City metro, Long Island, and Connecticut. Lower to mid 50s over the Poconos and Catskills, but mid to upper 50s in the Philadelphia metro, central New Jersey, and southern New Jersey. So you can see that interaction. And if we get enough sunshine, I would not be surprised if Philadelphia gets up to 61, 62 degrees, while portions of Long Island and Connecticut are stuck in the upper 40s. So it's going to be one of those typical spring clash type days. That is your forecast for today. Thank you again for following this video and always giving me some great comments. I always enjoy the feedback. So we have our traditional spring weather pattern. No more severe winter storms are a threat, and not so much any severe weather either. That's going to be further to the west, off towards the Pocono, should I say, towards the Ohio River Valley, Tennessee River Valley, and the Central Plains. but we're certainly going to see our potential for some rainfall, which is something that we significantly need, and a lot of unsettled days. So your long range forecast, beyond 4 days, don't be surprised if you see a lot of changes in the high temperature regime depending on where this backdoor cold front sets up each day. So enjoy the weather. In the meantime, stay safe out there.